Hello everyone and welcome to Fluido's Smart CRM series. And today we're talking about Einstein Analytics, and I'm here with Stefan, who will tell us more about how to get started with Einstein Analytics. So there's a lot of talking around AI and Salesforce with the recent acquisitions that happened in the area. So how do you see the analytics product develop over the years? What's going to be in the future?
Okay, so Einstein Analytics were designed to be a little different and attached to the Salesforce space. So this is where we're trying to deliver value for the customers. We're also trying to build a different concept. We're at the verge of a new small revolution into this space. So as the semantic layer, like business objects invented 20 years ago, or then this world was transitioning to data visualization, like Tableau, by the way, that we recently acquired. And now we see a little more expectations from the users and changing a shift of a paradigm from what we call pull. So the user would actually be requested to, still do his analyst sort of perspective, go and gather the data and make sense of it to take his decision upon. Okay, this is still considered by most of the business users too slow and too time consuming. And we're shifting to a push methodology that will actually display in context to the user the necessary information for his decision making and actually be expedited the decision process a lot faster. We call this the intelligent experience, and this is where we excel at delivering this in the context of the business process of the user when he needs to take a decision, what are the relevant KPIs or intelligence he needs to take that decision quickly, and then focusing back on the business instead of spending his time on a lot of digging into the data, which is the previous worlds were suggesting.
And it's probably also quite convenient when you have some insights that maybe you weren't looking for, but then kind of when the system analyzes and finds it for you, then you're able to act on it.
Yeah, exactly. We hold all this expectation because in our private life we define some preferences and we see that the tools at like Google and Facebook and Amazon deliver this sort of stuff in context. And we're starting to have the same expectation from the business user saying, well, listen, I'm losing this much time, I could focus on the business and I would like this to be pushed to me depending on those preferences.
Yeah.
And this is why I call intelligent experience, because we designed this to be embedded where the user lives. He lives in the operational systems. And for decades, these two, the decision support system and the operational systems were sort of side by side, forcing the user to do all this back and forth, potentially losing context. So for instance, I'm working on this particular customer and then I will go to see this particular dashboard on the decision support system. I need to make sure the filters are the same, so I don't make decision on the wrong numbers.
Yeah. And what would be your recommendation on how to start with the Einstein Analytics? So for example, like the first steps that the company could take to implement that. Okay,
so I'm going to give an example of a large customer we just signed a couple of years ago and we're exactly there today. So the value they've seen in Einstein Analytics is that they could easily source Salesforce data and external data, which has a high volume, so we're speaking of millions, hundreds of millions of records. They can analyze in the dashboard quite quickly. Then, for instance, a country manager or a product manager will be able to segment all this information and identify potential opportunities for the business. For them, it's a services branch. And then create new opportunities as a mass action, as one of the Einstein Analytics features, directly into the system. Okay, because the business pain was that the sales into services was saying, well, we can handle like 60 opportunities per month, we're only generating 20. With this sort of scenario, the line manager will automatically generate new opportunities, identify the sales strategies, modernizing the equipment or replacing the equipment or proposing additional services. What is the best strategy? How much money they can make out of it, and generate automatically the opportunity directly to the system and notify the user he now has this opportunity. So this was the phase one, only Einstein Analytics. And now we sort of changed the problem. Because the sales guy said, well, wow, just a second, we had 20, we can work on 60, and now we have 200 opportunities that are raining upon us. How do we deal with that? So we're sort of implementing something which is in pilot right now in this customer with Einstein Discovery, having a predictive win rate on those opportunities, allowing people to sort. And the company actually had a very smart idea about it, saying that, well, just a second, we have a number between 0 and 100%. all those opportunities are between 80 and 100% is more or less acquired. So let's focus your attention as a sales rep for those 60 customers you would like to work on, opportunities you would like to work on, between 50% and 80%, because this is where we can add value for the company. And for now, it's actually very successful. They are hoping to generate 300 million supplemental euros of services opportunities inside the system, which is by itself greatly justifying whatever project they're doing with Einstein Analytics and Einstein Discovery today.
And what about reporting? How easy is it to start on reporting in analytics?
Einstein Analytics is a totally different concept from these traditional reports and dashboards. Again, this is designed to access data from multiple sources and be a lot more flexible, like in a real platform, as opposed to like operational, or drag and drop into your context. So it usually involves an additional person. Let's call this person a data steward that will actually understand both the business and the data model and prepare all these data sets for the business user. They will then create all these dashboards and then potentially share with other people or integrate it tightly into the business processes, or everybody could consume this within context.
And if there is some, for example, the business has a very generic need for the reporting, is there any feature that they could use so that they could, have a quick start in that?
Yeah, we actually propose templates like sales, services, marketing, Pardot, which allow business people to have a few dashboards in their hands with our more standard KPIs in like a few hours, which is very nice. And then you can use this instead of a blank page. You can start from this and develop and customize and build new dashboards and have new ideas. People always get some source of inspiration before that.
Yeah, and can they also create their own?
Yeah, they can create their own dashboards, again, provided obviously they have access to it, but this is where the Salesforce admin responsibility comes in.
Great, and to sum up, what do you think is what is the biggest value that Salesforce Analytics brings to the platform in general?
I would say time to value, okay, because as of today, of course, before the Einstein Analytics was launched, most of customers had to use some other tools that were requiring to download all the data from Salesforce into some sort of data warehouse, data lake, whatever technology, and to digest it or aggregate it to a certain level where it would be exposed to a dashboarding tool of any sort. But then the struggle would be, okay, how can I leverage the security that I have into Salesforce, the visibility I have on the records, how do I embed this back into Salesforce? And this is where the time to value comes in, because today's world is shifting very quickly. So sometimes the business people say, I would like to have this dashboard by, well, maybe tomorrow noon. And not a lot of technologies allow to do that and respond to business quickly. So this is why I insist on time to value, which is very important from that perspective.
Okay, thank you very much for the great chat, and thank you for watching the Fluido's Smart CRM series. Stay tuned for our next episode.